NERDSoul.
Why are you a black man in love? Welcome back, everybody, to yet another episode of Black Together, A Walk in Her Shoes. I am Lady Lisa. I'm here with my sister cousin partner in crime, Madam Buddaphlai. Say hello.
Peace, love, and light, everybody.
All right, so we have another topic to jump into, but before we do that, if you have not already, please check out our live show that we had on, what was it, this past Sunday? Was it this past
Yes.
Sunday?
Mm-hmm.
Please go back and check that out. We had a live show, y'all. If you missed out on that, go and check that out. But before we get started into our next topic, what are we wearing on our feet for today's topic, Madam Butterfly?
I'm so glad you asked. Today we have a Asics Red and Black Throw Pro number 2. A Throw Pro number 2. Because today we are talking about financial literacy and debt. The throwing shoe, because I wanted to add a little education here. The throwing shoe is used in shot put, which is a sport that requires you to throw a weight for distance from your shoulders. So I thought that was an interesting little play on just the legacy of debt that is passed down to us, and how we have to reach out and make financial strides based upon the weight that was placed upon us. Message.
Alrighty. And you know what? This is the perfect time for us to talk about this because the holidays are coming up.
Mm-hmm.
And we already know what that means. Whatever budget we may or may not have had, whether it's there or not, it's getting thrown out the window.
Whole lot of people's lights getting cut off in February.
That budget is about to do a moonwalk off stage left. And we about to shop like it's 1999. Regardless of whether you need it, whether you can afford it, whether it does anything for you or not. Yes, we about to go into Walmart and Best Buy and act a monkey donkey for these $200 television sets that we have no place to put them. Set them right on the floor in front of our futon. Just saying. So, yeah. So we're going to be talking about finances, breaking the cycle, financial taboo. And this is part 1 of this short series, Breaking the Cycle, Financial Taboo, part 1, passing the buck, debt, and keeping financial management secret. So, we're talking about how it seems in the Black community that for whatever reason, we treat finances, money management, investment, savings, spending, budgeting secret. It's not something in general we discuss as a family and that we educate our children about and pass on to them. We expect them to know this by osmosis or something. I don't know. Maybe we think that the schools are educating them on this, and maybe a little bit, but not so much. I don't recall taking any type of mandatory finance classes. I don't even remember there being finance classes offered, in high school. Of course, when you get to college, you probably have those options, but a lot of times in college, they aren't simplistic finance and money management classes. They're more business oriented, but it's like we need some just basic, I'm getting ready to move out on my own as an adult. How do I manage my bills? How do I figure out what I should save versus what I put into checking? How do I figure out what bills should be paid when? How do I not live paycheck to paycheck,
Mhm.
but still make sure everything's being paid on time? For
Yeah.
some people, it may seem simple. For others, not so much.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
we're gonna kind of talk about um, all of that. So, in your opinion, Madam Butterfly, why do you think in our community we treat money as such a secret in every money, finances, saving, spending? How much money does mama have in the bank? You know what I mean? Why is it
Yeah.
such a secret?
Well, it's interesting because, we're an interesting people because when it comes to the actuality of our finances, we keep that a secret. But in
Hmm.
terms of what we want other people to know, we try
Hmm.
to give the appearance
Right.
of some sort of status or wealth
Right.
or whatever, in the way we
Hmm.
dress, in the cars we drive.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? We might drive that car into a hovel, but when we're riding around town on that, on gas fumes, not even a
Hmm.
quarter of a tank, we have people thinking that we live a certain, standard of life. So,
Yeah.
that's the first thing that I wanted to point out. But I think, I think that just the overall mistrust
Mm.
that we have for each other, and
Mm.
it's really sad. But when I really think about just the level of mistrust that we have for each other, and we're so worried that someone is going to take advantage of us or exploit us in some kind of way, or take something from us, we just don't share that type of information. We don't want somebody asking us for anything. That's like the first thought. Well, if I can't
Mm.
tell them that I have this, because if I tell them this, they're gonna start asking me for stuff. You know what I mean? And
Mm.
and that's
Yeah.
even kind of like in comedy skits and all of that stuff. It's like, well, if I win
Mm.
the lottery, I gotta go into hiding because I
Right.
know all of the, cousins 5 times removed is gonna come asking, can I have, So
Yeah.
I think that's an unfortunate thing that um, is detrimental to us, because when you look at other groups, they're able to pool their resources. And I mean, who's to say that whether they share, all of the intimate details of their personal finances or not, but there's a level of communication that has to happen in
Right.
order for them to, all live under the same roof for a certain period of time. And then, people are able to go into home ownership and business ownership and all of these different
Hmm.
things, and they already have a template that we could very easily follow. Um, but just our lack of trust doesn't allow us to do so. What are your thoughts on that?
I think unfortunately it's that. And I think another thing which is a little bit weird is that um I think we have this weird idea that if we let anyone know in any way that we have money, it's considered being arrogant.
Mm,
You're not supposed to, I don't know. Even though it's not considered being arrogant to drive a Beamer or, have a home that clearly shows you have some type of money, but to
mm-hmm,
discuss money in and of itself,
mm-hmm,
it's like you're showing off.
mm-hmm,
So we
mm-hmm.
just don't discuss it at all.
Yep.
But I honestly think it is more so the trust thing. Like I don't want nobody asking me. I don't want nobody knowing. I don't know. It's just really weird. And honestly, regardless of the reason, I think it puts our children in a bad position. We expect them to just kind of know by osmosis. That when they move out, that this is how you budget, this is how you save. This is how bills work and operate. Because again, it may seem um common sense to us, but that's not what common sense is. Common sense is something that has to do with, natural instinct. It's not common sense to know how bills work, how often bills come, about knowing that you can call and get a payment plan, or that, you're considered late by such any of those different things that you really have to learn somehow,
Yeah.
before you go out there and just operate as an adult and take responsibility for paying bills and saving and budgeting and all those kinds of things. Um, so I don't know. Maybe you guys can give us some comments on what you think the issue is with that. I just wanted to say one thing, kind of a side note, is that and a not this is a complete anomaly, completely an outlier. But NerdSoul has a friend who is married and has a son, and they have this huge, beautiful home in the outskirts of LA. And they lived there with his in-laws, and I believe his sister-in-law, and I want to say it's one other of their elders that's part of the family, and they all share a home together. So
Mhm.
they've pooled, all of their resources and their money together to get this huge, fabulous, fantastic home. And they each have like their established space in the
Mhm.
home. And we
Mhm.
don't see that a lot
Right.
in the Black community. That will happen when someone's sick and
Right.
needs to be cared for. And but this isn't that issue. This is
Mhm.
an issue of they decided, hey, we're moving as a family to this area. We want to reach back and get our folks and say, hey, y'all can come with us. We can, put our resources together and get this home. And it's just amazing. To me, it's just absolutely amazing. We went and visited them one time, and they just all seemed extremely happy. They talked about how, everything works together, how they kind of help each other out,
Mhm.
in terms of, stuff around the house, things that need to be done, helping out with their son, picking up from school. And it's just something you don't see often.
Mhm.
And it's ideal because I don't know. I really don't know, but I'm imagining without everyone's resources, they wouldn't have been able to get a home, in such a beautiful area that it's in, and they probably wouldn't have been able to get a home of that size and that type of thing. And just to be together as a family,
Mhm.
as they are. And I don't know, it's something to really think about, and I just thought it was something that was really beautiful. So that's a side note on that. But I want to talk about, if you will, as much as you want to, I wanted us to kind of talk a little bit about our personal experiences with finance growing up.
Mhm.
So, in terms of, were we aware of financial issues beyond we ain't got money for that. Beyond beyond, the typical statement made to a child just to get them off you. We ain't got money for that. or you got money? Okay.
Right.
Did can you share anything in terms of your experiences with finance growing up?
Yeah, well, I mean, I remember that I had no idea about credit
Hmm.
until I had already ruined mine. I had, you know what I mean? I never heard anything about the reality, the concept,
Hmm.
even the word credit. No clue.
Hmm.
And I think that that's so important for young people, especially when you think about how like predatory some of these credit card companies are when it comes to like college campuses and
Hmm.
stuff like that. And that was something I thought about when you had said something earlier, and I was thinking, oh, because you were saying something about finance classes in college, and I was thinking, well,
Hmm.
it's too late at that point because when they're going to register for their classes, it's like 5 tables of credit cards that they can sign up for. And if they
Yep.
don't know and understand, like that's not free money. If they don't
Yeah.
understand that, they can really put themselves in a bad situation.
Right.
And credit is one of those things. It's very easy to make it go bad. And it's
Yeah.
difficult to get it right.
Absolutely.
So outside of that, I do not recall as far as the home is concerned. I don't
Mhm.
recall any type of conversations about money management,
Mhm.
saving anything. I do remember my mom using the term savings bonds, so that
Mhm.
I knew that that existed. I didn't know what it
Mhm.
was. I didn't know what it
Mhm.
meant, but I do recall hearing that a lot, that there were savings bonds, but I had no
Mhm.
idea what that meant. But outside of that, knowing that banks existed, and that you would go there for transactions, if you will. But no,
Mhm.
I didn't know anything about anything at all.
Yeah,
What about you?
I think for me, it may have been the same, maybe a little bit more. I remember, of course, the same thing you said. Taking trips to the banks and sitting in the line, and I always like to see the thing travel down. You go through the drive-through, you see the
Mm-hmm.
container travel down in the tube, and going with my mom or my dad to make deposits or make withdrawals, and um, so I knew that extent of it. I knew that's where you go. You want to put money in or take money out, that kind of thing. Uh I knew, savings bonds, same thing. I remember hearing them talk about, I remember probably even seeing, my dad at one point had like a bunch of savings bonds, and all I knew is you just wait a long time to,
Yes.
to be able to use them. It's this
Right.
piece of paper that says it's worth this much, but you can't use it until I don't know, I'm grown and I'm 9 now. So I don't know. That's pretty much all I do. It's money, but it's no use to you right now. So, you know, that was pretty much it. And of course, during the holidays, you're excited because you're gonna get money, and that kind of thing. A lot of times, especially as you get a little bit older, you get money, so you're excited in holidays. You wanna count your money. But in terms of um, the value of really saving and in budgeting, not so much. I mean, I'm trying to remember if that was ever even a conversation of, hey, save your little bit of money, for this or for that. I don't know. I mean, I know for me personally, I was not that kid that like money was burning my pockets and I needed to just go in the store and buy some dumb stuff, and
Hmm.
I didn't really do that. I enjoyed spending the money I had, but I don't know. I don't remember ever kind of really burning my pockets, if you will, in terms of that. But I just don't remember. There were no conversations. There were no conversations about, savings and long-term savings, short-term savings, anything like that. Even though as I got older, just overhearing different conversations and things being said, I know, of course, that's something my parents did. And I know that they, as I got older and learned that they invested and had, different accounts. So they were managing money well. It just won't share with me,
Hmm.
how it was being done or the benefit of it or why or any of those things.
Hmm.
So I and again, that was when I was older, when I really realized all of those things. And honestly, well into adulthood, I started learning even more, just having conversations with, my mom about exactly, you know, uh, how they were handling or managing finances and what different types of investments and accounts and that kind of thing they had
Hmm.
going on. Um, so yeah, so it's kind of you kind of learn by hearing things. It's just like by the way, passing by. It's nothing that's purposeful.
Right.
It's nothing that like this is something I need to tell you about. This is something I need to make sure that you know. So we're going
Hmm.
to sit down and have this conversation about it. No,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
So,
I don't know why this came to my mind, and this is so random, but as some of the listeners know, I had my first son when I was 17. And
mm,
so this was the first time that you all got to meet him, as we came home for Christmas.
mm,
And we went to our great
mhm,
grandmother's house, and she goes in her drawer. She was so cute. she goes in her little thing and she presses money in my hand and she's like, don't spend this all in one place. And and
I think I know what you're gonna say. Go ahead.
it was like it was either 1 or 2 quarters. And I had a whole baby in my hand. A whole baby.
I wasn't expecting that.
And she pressed them coins in my hand and she was so serious. She was so serious. And
Oh
it's
my
just, it's
Lord.
so sweet. I can laugh about it now, but at the time I was like, I was so baffled. I was so, I was so baffled by it. Yeah. But it just made me think about how there, I think there was always this knowledge that um you were to save for a rainy day,
Mhm.
but maybe not. And I'm talking about like pre our parents, like our grandparents and beyond. The money sock in the drawer. You know what I mean? Or there's some kind of jar or container where spare change is going in and it's being collected. So
Mhm.
even if it wasn't as sophisticated as, you know, IRAs and all of these types of things, there was some concept of be prepared for if something goes down, if things go
Yeah.
left, you have a little bit of something to pull from.
Yeah. You know what? And now okay, you saying that, I just remembered. This was a big thing when I was little. Is there was this amber colored jar that had all this texture to it, and it was really glass jar that was really, really heavy, that my parents would put coins into. And when it would get full, it was a whole big thing for me and my brother to sit in the floor and roll coins.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
I do remember that. That was something we would do every once in a while, and then, we take the rolls to the bank and put
mm-hmm,
them in the bank.
mm-hmm,
So I do remember that.
mm-hmm,
So there was that. There was really no discussion about it. Like, what are
mm-hmm.
we doing with it exactly, and for what that. But I do remember that, and I just thought it was just, I don't know. I thought it was a cool thing to do for whatever reason.
Yeah, yeah.
So I do remember that. Um, but I thought what you were going to say is that grandma gave you a $2 bill, because
Oh,
that that was her thing for like a while. I remember she was given $2 bills and you were supposed to just hold on to it.
right, right.
And I mean, I guess I did for a while. I don't even remember what I guess I don't know if I spent them, put them in the bank. I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Well, Papa gave me a $2 bill. And I do
Okay.
remember keeping it for a while, and who
Hmm.
knows? Either it got lost just in the many moves, or I may have spent it. I have no idea.
Yeah. I mean, it probably went into the bank. It probably, I don't know. For me, it probably went into the bank some. I don't know. But yeah. So
But no,
there,
I
there's
didn't get a $2 bill. I think I got two. It was either 2 quarters or one.
bless your
And
heart.
I remember that I was holding a
Bless your
whole
heart.
baby.
Woo! Bless her heart. Bless her heart.
Yes.
So
R.I.P. Grandma.
yes, grandma was a trip. Um, I ain't gonna even go into reminiscing about that about stuff, but yeah. Uh, so let's talk about you know um how we should educate our children on finances, and if you would talk a bit about, I guess, how you educated your children on
Okay.
finances.
Well, there was one teacher. Well, really, it was only one time that I can think of where any type of finance, economics, any of that was taught to me, and that was in the 6th grade. I was in Tacoma, Washington, Dover Elementary School. Shout out to Mr. Jarvis. Um, he had this thing where he would um, you would basically like earn points to be able to do different activities. And I think I kind
Mhm.
of vaguely spoke on this on one of the other episodes. But the way that this was different was everybody had a checkbook. And
Mhm.
so not only were you keeping track of the points that you accumulated, but you had to physically write out a check for what you wanted to spend your points on. And you had to keep a ledger
Mhm.
of, the points that you were spending and accumulating. And that was my introduction to just understanding that whole thing. Because of course, I heard, we don't have the money for that, or I understood that we didn't have a lot, you
Mhm.
know. But as far as seeing, okay, this is what resources you have, this is
Mhm.
what's coming from it, and this is what's left. I had no real concept of that, that I can remember until Mr. Jarvis's class. So that really helped me to
Mhm.
understand money management.
Mhm.
And so I used that with my own children, um, when, their first few years, I homeschooled them. And in the same way, I had them earn points by, doing tasks around the house, or, whatever the case may be. And they were able to use those points to choose an activity, or, for us to go on a specific field trip of their choice. It was different things
Mhm.
like that. So they were able to understand kind of that you can't withdraw more than you deposit, type of thing. And this was at a very young age. This was, third grade and earlier.
Okay.
So very early they were introduced to that concept. And not only that, I made sure that they understood, okay, if you do get money, you have to, in a sense, share the wealth. So if,
Mhm.
if you get if you get money for your birthday and you go to the store and you want to get snacks, well, when you come back, you need to make sure that you have snacks for your brothers too. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? This isn't just, oh, I'm gonna amass all of this for myself
Mhm.
and forget y'all. Y'all just be over there doing whatever you're doing. No, you're
You were teaching that village mentality.
yes,
Mhm.
yes. And so even to this day, they're all grown now, but even to this day, it doesn't matter what the situation is. If somebody's going to the store, they'll either ask if you want something,
Mhm.
or if they're already out and they come home, they bring you the snack that you typically like without you even
Mm.
have to ask for it.
I
You
love
know,
that.
yeah, which sometimes can get me in trouble because there's only so many Mr. Goodbars that I can turn away before I have to go ahead and take it. I mean, my baby gave it to me. What am I supposed to? I can't deny my child. That was a love offering.
I mean, you could put it in the freezer for another time.
We ain't
I'm
gonna talk
just
about that.
saying.
We
Save,
ain't gonna talk about
save
that.
that love. Look, I'm sitting here as I had to tell my husband to stop buying so much stuff because I love sweets.
Hmm.
I love sweets. I love chocolate. So he got to the point where I guess he got tired of going to the store and buying stuff over and over again. So he walked up in here with like 2 bags of donuts
Ooh,
and 2 family packs of cookies.
another love offering.
I was just like, what are you trying to do? Like, what is it that you what is it that you're trying to do? You either want me toothless or 50 pounds heavier.
He trying to love you, girl.
I was like, Lord. Like, I mean, if, part of you is like, yes, and the other part is like, oh Lord. you know? But yeah,
Ah,
it's all in love. But I digress. I digress. So no, but I mean that's great. I love that because you're teaching two different things at the same time. You're teaching them about managing their money and resources, and also teaching them that you need to share your resources with your family. It's that village mentality, and I love that. So you know one thing that pops into my head, because of course my son isn't old enough at this point to really start teaching him too much right now. He really knows he has a piggy bank. He knows he has a piggy bank, and he knows the coins go in there because he likes sometimes going and taking the coins out just so he can put them back in. So, so he knows that the coins go in there, and sometimes, dollars are going there too. Um, and that's pretty much the extent that he knows. He knows that there's monies in there. He knows monies. That's about it. I don't, of course, he doesn't understand, but my plan is to always kind of teach him about that, putting a little bit of money in this piggy bank. He doesn't know, of course, about other accounts that we've already, kind of set up for him, but I plan on teaching him about that. Because honestly, thinking about um, managing finances for ourselves and just kind of always really constantly reevaluating what we can do better, what we can do in addition going forward, and thinking about short-term savings and long-term savings and IRAs and CDs and um, Bitcoin and all this kind of stuff makes me think of how am I going to teach him about this? So as he gets older and I can evaluate what his understanding should be, I just plan to kind of implement that. And um, one thing I think that is really important for kids is to have allowances, and not allowances just for the sake of giving them allowance because you're breathing, but no, you've done something, whatever little thing it might be, whether you cleaned up your room properly or you took out the garbage or you set the table, whatever it is, so that they start to understand you get money for work,
Mhm.
or you get money for, that it's an exchange, just so they
Mhm.
understand that it's an exchange. You don't just get money because you're cute.
Right.
At least not from parents. Maybe from grandma and grandpa, you get money because you're cute. Uh,
Right.
you know, but it's still an exchange.
True
But just
story.
just so they can kind of get that understanding. And it's, now that I really think about it, they can sort of, understand that even at a young age, because he even, has experienced, well, I'll get, a sticker if um I do everything mommy asked me to. So if mommy asked me to clean up, she didn't have to ask me 5 times. If I clean up
Mhm.
after the first time, I'll get a sticker, or I'll get a a toy or a treat, because we have like this box of just little tiny toys that
Mhm.
we were using actually for potty training,
Mhm.
um, to do that. So, it's like, hey, you did a good job. So, mommy has a surprise for you. So he understands that if I do this correctly, if I do that correctly, or if I don't, talk back or whatever, I'll get something in exchange for that. And right now it's a toy. And as he gets older, it'll turn into money. So he can
Mhm.
slowly develop that understanding um, of work
Yep.
and getting something in return for that work, or meeting responsibility in whatever form it is. So I think in that way, we can start teaching kids about this currency at a very early age, and just adjust it as they get older, so that it makes sense for their age and level of development.
Yeah, for sure. Yep. That's good
Um,
stuff.
yeah, it takes, it takes thought, and it takes being very purposeful about it. But I think it's
Mm.
necessary, because I don't know, and maybe I'm wrong, but I just don't see it as something that we really do um in general, as a community, as a people. It's not something we're
Mhm.
very purposeful with, and I see it happening, with white folks. They're
Mm.
very purposeful with it. And
Mhm.
one thing I remember doing that I was happy I did, with my nieces when they were little, is we went out to the store one time. They had money, and we went out. I think it was to Party City, and they were, buying whatever they were buying, and it was the middle of the day during the week, so it wasn't a lot of people out. So they each wanted to go up and make their own little purchases. And so I told asked the cashier, just please be patient with us. They're trying to learn about money. And so she told them what the amount was that they needed to pay, and they would give her a certain amount. And I asked them before she said anything, I said, if you would give me a minute, how much change should you get back? And they took their time and they figured it out, and they said it. And so it's like, even in those moments, it's just taking the time of, understanding money. And of course, that's when they were a little bit older, but learning about money in school. But it's like putting it into practice, because,
Mm-hmm.
you need to make sure that you're getting the right amount of money back. You need to make sure you have enough money.
Mm-hmm.
All of that kind of thing kind of goes hand in hand. And those hands on moments, I think, are important. And it gives them a sense of pride, of using their own money and kind of knowing what they're doing and having an actual experience versus this is what I'm learning on paper in school,
Mm-hmm.
that kind of thing.
Yep.
Um, so we're gonna talk more about all of this, but we want to take a break and go into some hot topics. Um, there have been some updates on Travis Scott. For those of you who don't know, Travis Scott performed at Astro World, and there were 8 people who died due to crowd surging, that kind of turned into trampling and crushing for some people. So 8 people died, many more were injured. Some are actually still in critical condition. But there have been some updates that I've seen where there's been footage of him at previous concerts where he was encouraging people to force past the boundaries, the fences, telling them just come on, jump over them or push past them, encouraging people to come and jump up on stage. Where he was, encouraging people to just kind of do all of these unsafe things. And I'm like, this doesn't look good for
Mm-hmm.
him at all. Um, they showed footage of that very concert where those people died, where, and from the point of view of the stage, um, you could see an ambulance driving through the crowd with flashing lights, and he still just was like, let's continue with the show. My thing is, at that point, this is beyond one person that has fainted in the crowd. If an
Mm-hmm.
ambulance has determined we need to drive through a crowd of thousands of people in
Mm-hmm.
order to get someone, it's
Mm-hmm.
serious.
Yeah.
Um, so at first, I really was like, oh, we can't blame him, and we can't blame him for this whole thing. I'm still there.
Right.
However, I'm kind of on the side of he probably should have stopped the show.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Um, he probably should have stopped the show, and it's just it's a little damning with that on top of his behavior in other shows.
Right.
And even tweets he had put out about, something to the extent of, people are still trying to get in even though the show was sold out. He's like, we're gonna let them in. And it's like, no, sir, we can't do that. It's a
Right.
safety issue and you can't tweet this. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
didn't know about in one show, whew, there was one young man um that was climbing up somewhere like off of a balcony, a rail on a balcony. And Travis Scott said, I see you up there, but are you gonna do it? And he jumped and he's now paralyzed.
Mm.
Now, this young man has a mind of his own. I
Right.
will say that. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm not putting that completely on Travis Scott because this young
Mm-hmm.
man is supposed to have a mind of his own. But at the same time, sir, what
Yeah.
what are we what are we doing?
I
You
think
know?
it's kind of like this because we did talk about this on the live show,
Hmm.
and I felt too like, oh, are they going to put this on this young man when there's so many areas that were problematic. And
Hmm.
of course, we didn't know at that point all of the things that are coming out now.
Yeah.
And so I was concerned from that point that they were going to try to put all of the blame on him. But there are definitely, like you said, things that are concerning. And what I thought was kind of the equivalent of they may try to go the route of like inciting a riot or
Yeah.
the going into a theater and yelling fire,
Right.
that type of thing. You cannot um, incite anarchy.
Hmm.
You cannot suggest that people rush
Mm-hmm.
a stage or rush an entrance or, you know, do anything that kind of creates this disorder.
Mm-hmm.
And I get from a young person's perspective, they're just trying to get the party hype. They're trying to
Mm-hmm.
get some buzz around whatever it is that they're doing. But there's consequences to disorder. You
Yeah.
know, there's consequences to not behaving in a controlled way.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it definitely now, seeing from his vantage point, that there was definitely some type of kerfuffle going on, even
Yeah.
if he didn't know fully what was happening, there was something going on that was significant enough to give pause, even if it was just for a moment, because it may not have been anything at all. But there was enough going on to just say, cut the music, let's just see what's happening here.
Right.
And that didn't happen. I
Yeah.
still I still feel like it wouldn't have even gotten to that point in terms of the amount of people that were in that space if there was control on the opposite side of the gate. At
Yeah.
some point, people had to be let in to that space,
Right.
or they bum rushed their way into that space.
Right.
One of two, or the combination of the two things happened. And
Mm-hmm.
so we can't disregard those things and jump straight to Travis Scott.
That's
They
true.
all play a part in this, and they all need to be responsible.
Absolutely. I totally agree. I totally agree. So I'm sure there's going to be much more that comes of this story. I, you know, I pray there are no more deaths because again, there are some people that are still in critical condition.
Hmm.
Um, and found out also that the little boy who was at the concert, we thought he was 10. He was not 10. He was 9. He
Hmm.
was 9. And from what I understand, that family is suing, but I really believe the parents need to take some responsibility in that because you placed your child in a position that they should not have been placed in, regardless of um, danger. If we even step back and say, allowing a 9-year-old child to go to this concert, full of all of these adults, they're out there, we're in California. They're
Hmm.
out, smoking weed, there's a lot of alcohol, um, just a lot of adult activity. It's just not appropriate.
Right.
It's just not appropriate. And then you want to add the safety issues on top of that. It's just not appropriate. I don't know what adults were with him. I don't know if the parents were with him or whomever, but regardless of any of that, I just don't think it was appropriate.
Hmm.
But it's unfortunate and it's sad that he got hurt. All I'm saying is what should not happen is the parents just sit back and go, "Oh my gosh, somebody else needs to be responsible for this." No,
Right.
ma'am, sir, y'all have to
Yeah.
take part responsibility. This is your child,
Right. That
you
there's a
know.
there's a level of endangerment
Yeah,
from the parents' perspective. And I couldn't even tell you a Travis Scott song, and I'm
me
like
either.
giving you my age, I guess, in a way by saying that. Like, I have no idea. But I would imagine that his music is not for a 9-year-old.
Yeah, and I'm gonna tell you, I didn't even know he was a brother. When they said Travis Scott, I'm thinking somebody like Kid Rock. I had no idea. I had no idea. Then I found out he was Kylie Jenner's boyfriend. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't know these people. I don't know these people. I'm trying to live my life. I don't know these people.
Yeah,
I had
well,
no idea.
I did know that he was the baby daddy, because he's the baby daddy. Okay. And I think she's pregnant now with his second
Mm.
child. Um, but I couldn't pick him out of a lineup of, like, all of those skinny kids, the Lils and the, you know,
The babies and the
Chiefs
little
and the Bang Bangs and all of that. If you were to line them
not the
all
bang
up,
bang.
I wouldn't be able to pick any of them out at all. Like none of
Once you get only Lil I can pick out is Lil Wayne. That's probably it.
them.
Lil
He ain't little no more.
no, thank you. Lil Romeo, who ain't Lil Romeo no more. Look, I have
These are
no idea.
grown men with gray hair that you ain't little, it's Mr. Wayne, Mr. Bow Wow, and Mr.
You're right. You're right. Look, look. I'm still listening from music to music from the 80s and the 90s. Maybe early 2000s. After that, I'm done. I'm done with y'all. I can't do it. Look, call me old, call me what you want to. It is what it is.
Isn't it
Anywho,
amazing? Like, just as a side note, really quick, because I know we are talking about a very serious matter, but you know, we can all, for those who are in our age group, we can all remember our parents, or other adults telling us like, turn that racket off and all of this stuff. And we're thinking, man, this
mm,
music is good. Like, how can they not understand how fantastic this music is? And it was racket to them. And now here we are in that same space. They were just like, oh, I don't want to go to the trap. Please don't take me to the trap. I can't take it.
mm-mm.
Everything sounds the same. It's
Yep.
the same cadence. They ain't talking about nothing. It's a
They ain't talking
series of
about nothing. That's the same thing our parents said. They ain't talking about nothing.
it's just a series of sounds and grunts and just whistles. I can't
Okay.
deal with it. I can't.
But it is though. That's the thing. It literally is. Like no one can argue with that. It literally is. There are about 5 words in this whole 5 minute song. The rest of it is just like
Yeah.
animal sounds and
Yes. Da 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 da
bodily
da da.
function.
Woo. That. That's good. That's good right there. That's a wrap. No, that is horrible. It's too much.
It is too much. All
Oh,
I remember is one time, I don't know why this sits in my mind. Me and my family, my mom, my dad, me and my brother, we were all driving out somewhere. A lot of times we would do just like Sunday drives, like the typical, you know, traditional Sunday drives that people talk about. We would actually do that as a family. Or my dad had cut on the radio and the radio was playing. And like me and my brother in the back seat, we're, just kind of, he's like, cut out all that bopping back there. I'm like, man, even can't even bop. Enjoy the music. You can't even bop in the back seat. All right.
Whew, that's
Oh, but
too
anyway.
funny. Oh
Oh
goodness.
goodness. All right. So moving
Yes.
on.
Yes.
We always have a tangent for y'all.
Yes.
Um. So let's talk about what we've learned and how we've grown financially from like our young adulthood until now, or just really in general how we've grown, um what we've learned financially. You wanna start?
Yes. Just like I started with what I didn't know, I'll say that credit is so very important. Credit opens up, new worlds to you for whatever it is that you want to do, whether it's, home ownership or, those types of things, or whether it's as far as business.
Mhm.
Um, it really opens up opportunities for you to have a foothold on many different things.
Mhm.
So I think that that's very important. Saving is very important, but also not just saving into a savings account, but actually looking into different types of accounts that accrue interest at the
Right.
time that they're saving. So, really, just like having your money work for you while
Mhm.
it's sitting there, multiple streams of income, working a 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, generally speaking, you're not going to amass wealth. You're just
Mm-hmm.
not going to. And so and not only that, just learning what we've learned through this whole pandemic, it is it is risky
Yeah.
to rely on the 9 to 5. And in our time, that was the thing, is, you get you a
Mm-hmm.
9 to 5 because that's something that you can rely on and stuff like that.
Right.
Modern times, it's not like that anymore.
Right. Because
As
businesses aren't stable like they were then. Yeah.
Exactly. And not only that, they don't share their instability with the
Mm-hmm.
employees. There
Right.
used to be like a code of ethics, like, even if it was just whispers that, this possibly could be happening. Oh, they're going to be giving out pink slips today or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. Now you show up to work and there's a sign on the door that
Yeah.
says the business is closed. So you have no way of preparing for anything.
Yeah.
And so you have to have more than one stream of income, even if it's, you maybe you like to do arts and crafts, just, putting having an Etsy page, or
Yeah.
putting them on, like Facebook Marketplace or something like that. you
Absolutely.
know you can turn anything into a business. You really
Yeah.
can. Yeah.
Absolutely. And like you said, with Etsy and eBay, and there's so many platforms now, it's almost like no excuse, because it's
Mhm.
like the platforms are all readily made for you, out here, to do that. So I completely agree. And kind of going back to what you were saying about credit, credit is extremely important. And I think for a lot of people, they don't learn about credit until it's already ruined, and until it's already too late, and until you're, trying to make a major purchase. You want to get your first car, get your first apartment. And they're like, oh, we can give you a car, at 30% interest rate,
Mhm.
because your credit is jacked, or you need a co-signer, and, all of this stuff. And so, you know, I, I really don't recall how I learned about credit. I do recall that my credit was jacked. Um, you know, by the time I really, really learned about it, and it's taken a lot of effort and self-education,
Mhm.
to figure it out. Because I will say, it is better to start extremely early, because the whole world of credit is such a secret.
Yeah.
It's hard to find concrete answers, concrete guidelines on what you should and shouldn't do. A whole lot of things contradict themselves. So
Mhm.
it takes a lot to get good footing and understanding, and be able to make adjustments and watch uh and see your credit improving. It's a lot. It's possible. Absolutely, because honestly, I've done it. But now at the age I am, it took this long. It took me making mistakes, and then trying to figure out how to correct it, and then educating myself more to find the real answers,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. And just to kind of put add this in, you don't have to pay someone for this. I know there are plenty of places that will gladly take your money to teach you about the do's and don'ts of credit. You better go somewhere on YouTube and Google and figure it out, because there's no more. Honestly, there's no more that they're going to tell you or give you that you're going to pay for than you can find between YouTube and Google. I promise you.
Yeah.
I promise you. If you're already in a financial bind, the last thing you want to do is take $200-300 that you don't have to pay someone to give you information you could have gotten from
Yep.
the internet that you already paying for.
That's true. That's true.
No.
And that's not to diminish that's not to diminish anybody's craft, or
Mhm.
anybody's, business that's in that. I'm sure that there are people where that service is warranted and
Mhm.
affordable. But if you're
Right.
already robbing Peter to pay Paul, and have a ceiling of debt, and are trying to figure out how you can get credit relief, $100, $200 for a course or a support or a PDF in some
Mhm.
cases,
Mhm.
it's just not. it may not be the best course of action for you.
Yeah, absolutely. For some people, they like, look, it's just easier for me if I go to this person and let them handle it and take care of it. And I absolutely agree. But I think some people have been given the impression that the only way I'm going to fix my credit is if I pay this professional to do X,
Mhm.
Y, and Z for me. And I just want people to understand that's not true. You're not bound by being able to pay someone $200, $300 to
Right.
take these steps to do this, because what they're doing is contacting these different places and mailing stuff for you if need be. And those are things that you can do, but you just need
Yeah.
the information of who to mail, what information to send, who to call, what questions to ask, and you can look that up online. So I don't want anyone to feel like there's no hope if I don't have money to pay someone.
Right. And
That
there's
kind
even
of thing.
templates. There's even templates
Yeah,
online for
there
where you
are.
just fill in the blanks for the specific accounts and
Hmm.
amounts and things like that. So you just have to
Yeah,
do the legwork. And I think sometimes people are intimidated by what that legwork is, but it can
absolutely.
definitely be done.
I will say also, I think I've given this plug before, but I'll gladly do it again. Websites like Credit Karma, Credit Sesame, that are completely free, are extremely helpful in being able to see your credit, keeping track of your credit. They give you tips on why your credit score has gone down, what you can do to make your credit score go up. They even tell you the probability of you being able to get credit cards, tell you about credit cards that will help you build credit. Extremely helpful, and it's free.
Hmm.
It's completely free. Um, and I wanted to also say, as far as savings accounts, go on markets.com. Those They have interest rates that are much higher than a lot of your brick and mortar places because they're not brick and mortar.
Hmm.
Um, you know, Same with like their checking accounts. I would just say check them out. And I'm not, this isn't any kind of paid endorsement. I'm just sharing information that I myself have used and just want
Hmm.
to share with you all. Now, if they listening and want to, slide a sister a little something, Merry Christmas. But but yeah, that's just information I wanted to share. So that's all of that is stuff that I've learned honestly by doing a lot of research. A lot of research, just doing like a deep dive online. And if you don't know where to start, you literally type in what you're looking for. How do I raise my credit score? Literally, you type in the question that you have. You don't have to know all these technical terms or anything like that. You can literally do that. And that's one really great thing about the internet. You can find all that information. um so just in doing that, I've grown a lot, just kind of doing that type of research and learning how credit works,
Hmm.
um gaining the discipline for savings, and understanding and embracing the concept of short-term savings and long-term savings, and researching what is a CD, what is an IRA, this all these different kinds of things, the benefits of each. Um, that's really what it comes down to in implementing it, putting it into place. Use YouTube for more than, videos of somebody falling down in the driveway. That's all I'm saying. I mean,
Uh,
I'm just saying because there's so much more. I mean,
yeah,
it's endless. The information, the good, useful information that other people have taken the time to put together.
yeah.
On YouTube, there are step-by-step videos, you name it, on there. So I would just encourage anybody that wants to really take advantage of all of that, and start from where you are.
Yeah.
You're never hopeless. Whether you have a credit score of, I don't know, 425 or 725, which if you're there, you good. But just use the information that's out there and don't worry about, oh, I'm gonna have to pay X amount of money. Do your research. Yeah.
Yeah. And also I'll suggest there's a retirement calculator. If you just Google retirement calculator, and what it does is it takes into consideration inflation over the
Mhm.
years, and so based on you can base it like on your current lifestyle, or more or less or whatever, and it'll say, okay, based on this, based on this income, based on what your current bills are now, in the year such and such, because you put in there what year, what age you want to retire. And so, depending how many years of a gap that is, it calculates, uh, a reasonable inflation rate, and it lets you know, okay, you need, in order for you to have X amount of dollars, which would basically be able to sustain you for, 20 plus years after retirement, whatever the time frame
Mhm.
is, living at this particular lifestyle, you would need to save this total. So breaking that down into monthly, weekly, whatever, this is how much you would need to save in order to get to that figure by this time.
Mm.
Um, and I thought that that was just extremely helpful. It put things in
Yeah.
perspective for me. Yeah.
That is. Do you have a link that you could share with us later on, Madam Butterfly?
I can look right now and I'll see what I can find. Yeah.
Okay. If we can find that, we're going to share that link at the bottom in addition to the other links, the websites that we've talked about. Um, so let's talk a little bit about, if as much as you'd like to, Madam Butterfly, let's talk a little bit about what our goals are in terms of long-term finances for like ourselves, our marriage, family, children, etc. Because it's a whole other ball game. It's one thing to talk about your finances if you're a single woman,
Hmm.
right? It's another thing, no matter what y'all think. It's
Hmm.
another thing to talk about finances within a marriage, because it's not what's his is mine and what's yours is mine.
Right.
It's, or what's mine is mine. It's not like everybody's is mine. It's,
Yeah.
it's not that. So yeah, if you want to talk a little bit about your goals and finances in terms of all of that.
Yes. Well, one thing that my husband and I recently, I guess, came to an agreement on is, what our life is going to look like in retirement.
Hmm.
And one of the things that we want to be able to do is we want to retire in the Caribbean. Have a
Hmm.
nice little bungalow out there. It's not unreasonable to get land or to get a home, really in any region there, but to also have a home here in the States,
Hmm.
because we have children. Um, we have a grandchild, and soon we'll have plenty more, I'm sure. And
Hmm.
we want to be able to, have that experience of being able to, you know, nurture them and that type of thing.
Hmm.
So, preparing for that. Um, we're in the process of establishing a business, and so all of those things, of course, running a business can be risky. There's a lot of things that can be risky, but I'm a planner. I have a
Hmm.
plan for the plan for the plan.
Hmm.
And so I know where all of my money goes, even if it goes to nonsense.
Hmm.
Now, I will say that oftentimes I allow money to go to nonsense. However, that's where he comes in, because he is more disciplined when it comes to what money is being spent on.
Hmm.
So, like, I mean, he'll look at something to the penny and be like, no, that's 25 cents more than that. Whereas for me, it's just like, listen, I don't want to deal with it. Let's put it in the basket and move on, or let's pay somebody to do it. I don't want to
Hmm.
read no instruction manual. I'm not trying to do all of that. Let's just get whoever to come over here and fix it.
Hmm.
So that part of it, I think, is where there's a balance, because even though I may go off the rails sometimes with my Amazon purchases, no plug intended, uh he's able to kind of, keep focus as far as what it is that we we need to be doing.
Yeah.
So
We're no help
Yeah.
to each other in terms of our hair time.
You just
We're no help.
it's too many.
I got packages
It's
I
just
gotta go pick up tonight.
there's just so many things. It's just there's so many things. The one of the
I
more
didn't
recent
know I
things,
needed that.
right? One of the more recent, and I know here we go on another tangent. One of the more recent things that I've been trying to convince him that I need
Oh Lord.
is this uh electric shower cleaner. It's
The
got like
spin brush?
it has the spin brush with the pole. Yes.
Yes, yes.
And every time I mention it, he looks at me like I have three heads. But I just feel like that brush would bring me so much joy. Like it is right there
See,
standing at the opening of the vortex of my happiness.
see, the problem is you coming from a position of joy. He don't care about your additional joy. Look, you need to come from a position of necessity and need, right? You are trying to preserve your back, right?
Yes.
In your bodily parts in time. See, it takes less time if you use it, and that extra time could be spent where with him. You preserve your back, and see, you're not as tired. And if you're not as tired, you have more energy for who? Him.
Him.
You should have came to me
Hallelujah.
sooner. You should have
Yes,
come to me
God.
sooner.
Yes,
Come
God.
on now.
Hallelujah.
There you
Girl, I'm ready to put money in your collection plate right now.
go.
Oh my gosh.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
sorry about that
Anyway,
tangent, y'all.
it was necessary. It was necessary. So yeah. Um yeah, go ahead. Where you have more or you good?
Girl, I don't even remember where I was. Listen, all I can tell you is that we decided that we were going to start having weekly meetings. We had talked about this too. Weekly meetings to just check in with where we are and the progress that we're making on savings and different things, the
Hmm.
business and different things that we're doing, because we realize we have to be intentional about it. you
Yeah,
know
absolutely.
thankfully during the pandemic we did not experience significant hardship like a lot of
Hmm.
families did.
Right.
We were able to maintain a flow, and a lot of people weren't able to do that. And even with us still maintaining a flow, we realized that we wasted a lot of money on nonsense.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? A lot of money on nonsense. And I mean, some things are worth it. Like to me, I think that self-care,
Yeah.
vacations, date night, those types of things, sure. Like you have to, find ways to pour into your relationship and all of that, and that's important.
Hmm.
But there were times like, ordering ordering pizzas, and I have my kids are like, we call them the all-star monstars. They're big kids. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So you're talking about, you know, $70 worth of pizzas, eighty
Yeah.
dollars worth of pizzas. That's just one night. Now, I could have
Yeah.
cooked. All of us could have
Right.
cooked something for that
Right.
matter. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But when you start tallying those types of things up,
Hmm.
it it really matters. When you look
Yeah.
at like for the month, you know,
Yeah.
and not
Yeah.
only that, I did a calculation because, I've been working from home since the pandemic. But prior to that, when I would go to work, I would have, I would buy coffee from the cafe that we have. Sometimes I would get breakfast.
Hmm.
I would more often than not, I would buy lunch as opposed to bringing lunch. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? Or I might get some different snacks or whatever.
Right.
And when I went in tallying all of that up, plus the gas that was being saved from not commuting back and forth to work,
Hmm.
like there was so much extra money that could
Hmm.
be put into savings or utilized towards something else. But when you're in that habit of just mindlessly spending, you
Hmm.
don't realize how you're kind of chipping away at
Yeah.
at your future, really,
Yeah.
you
That's
know?
true.
So
Yeah.
the word of the
That's
day
true.
is discipline as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I agree. In intention, like you said, discipline and intention,
Mhm,
because that's important. I don't, some people I guess think that somehow it's just gonna all come together. No, it's not gonna somehow all come together. You have to be purposeful in it.
mhm,
So I totally agree, and it takes detail. And I will say this. Um, it takes communication from both parties, but I do believe there has to be one person that is really taking charge of it and overseeing it. I think it's
mhm,
very difficult for two people to both be in charge of that. And,
mhm,
it's a conversation of who handles this best, who
mhm,
has a better grasp on it. And for us, we agreed that it would be me because it was
mhm,
something that I had already kind of tackled before we were married. I had made a very detailed um, budget, and I did it in a very precise way from
mhm,
doing kind of research, trial and error, and I had it like down to a really really great T in terms of budgeting, in terms of planning on how bills were going to be paid, and all of that type of thing. And now with managing credit cards and how much to spend, and when it'll be paid, all those different things. So I think it's a matter of who's going to be in charge of it,
mhm,
right? And who's going to stay on top of it, and you have to come to an agreement about that. But in terms of goals, long term, we've talked about savings and you know um, property investments and things we want to make long term. And so, like you said, it's a plan for a plan for a plan. But it does take that. We even discussed, like, what it will look like to have, savings and money for ourselves individually versus for, each other and our family and for our son. But it's all again, having a conversation, doing research and making a decision and getting started. Nobody says you have to have thousands of dollars,
mhm,
to start this at all. And in terms of even investing, take advantage of the whole, Bitcoin and, things online. Do your research, but you can make small investments, and just let it sit. Just act like it's not there. That's the other
mhm,
thing. It's just let the money sit and let it build and act like it's not there, check on it, that kind of thing. You'd be surprised. You'd
yeah,
really be surprised on what can happen. So I agree with you when you said, it's about intention, it's about discipline,
mhm,
it's about planning, and it's about working together.
yep,
It's absolutely about working together, being open and honest with each other. And we're talking about family and marriage,
mhm,
and really understanding, being honest about um, what your issues are. If you have an
mhm.
Amazon issue, be honest about your Amazon issue. If you have if you have a French fry issue or a cookie issue.
Well, dang, you getting all of my issues.
Oh, that's me. Oh, that's me. But
We are what? Amazonists,
look,
fryists,
look.
cookieists.
All right. But you have to be honest about it, and you, of course, you can't have all of it all the time, but you have to. What you do is you say, okay, on every other weekend or every first weekend or whatever, we're going to go out and indulge.
Mhm,
Or however you, whatever you say, it could be every other Saturday, it could be every Saturday, whatever's in your budget. But just
mhm.
know, you can't just wake up and be like, I sure do want some fries, all the time. So
Right.
it's about
Yep.
it's about all of that, being reasonable. But again, it goes back to intention, and it can be done. And the thing is this, that I found, it's hard because you first want to focus on what you can't have. Oh, I can't have this and I can't have that. But once you've done it for a little while and you see the progress, you're like, it's not about what I can't have, it's about what I can have in the long run. If I
Right.
sacrifice a little bit on the front end, as time goes by, is so much smoother, Lord, and it's so much easier, and there's so much freedom.
Right.
When
Yeah.
you tell y'all, when you get your credit together, when you get your credit together,
Ain't nothing like it.
ain't nothing like it. Yeah,
It
it's serious. It's necessary because good credit is freedom. That's all
is.
I can say. It's
Yeah.
freedom in being able to do things without, having to be like, well, Lord, let me go and check. You know what I mean? See
Yes.
what little pennies I got. It's not so much
Yes.
that as it is, let me see where I am on the credit card or
Yeah.
on this credit card and on that credit card. That kind
Yeah.
of, because you have options.
Hmm.
Credit buys you freedom and it buys you time.
It does. You're right. You're right about that.
Yeah.
I remember the first time that I was approved for a credit card. It's like I'm looking over my shoulder, like, did they really? Did they mean it? Did they mean to say yes to me? Because I'm so used to them telling me no. Are they sure they gonna give this money to me? You sure they want to do this? And each time, applying for something and getting approved, it's just like when you've been told no for so
Right.
long, like it's a really liberating
It
feeling, because
is.
like you said, it definitely gives you time and money and access
It
to things
does.
that you wouldn't have had access to.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So,
And oh, and one other thing, because
mhm,
I used to work for a predatory lender,
mhm.
um, and the annual percentage rate was 160, no, 264%.
Wow.
Now this was years ago, and they've since changed the laws
Mhm.
to keep that type of um, robbery to be as simple as possible from happening. But when you have bad credit, you're kind of forced into these other situations where, oh, well, you have bad credit, no problem. Come on, you can get this car, you can get this loan or whatever, but you're paying like an obscene amount of interest, or you end up with
Yeah.
some type of balloon payment on the end. And a lot of
Yeah.
times people can't afford that balloon payment, but they're not reading the fine print. So,
Right. Or they just say I'll do it and deal with it later
right.
because I need this right now, which is, it's a bad thing all around. So, hopefully we've given you all some information, some things to think about, some great resources, and hopefully this is a conversation that you all will have with your own self and with others. And so I think it's just something really important in the Black community. So whether you are a single person, married, family, whatever, that you will really think about this, and that we can kind of break this whole thing of being so hush hush about finances, because what we are doing is setting our children up to be in a position where they have to um, learn from their own mistakes when they don't. This is a situation where they don't have to. If we would just teach them about it and embrace the whole thing, and just give them all the information that we have, and let them learn from our mistakes,
Yeah.
because it you know the learning curve for this is not very kind, and it takes years, to recover from these mistakes. Literally, there are different things you can do on your credit where they will say it takes 7 years for it to come off.
Yeah.
That's heavy, and that's a lot. So, you know, everyone listening, if you individually, said, this is something I'm going to break, whether you have nieces, nephews, or mentees or children, and say, hey, we're going to sit down, we're going to talk about money, we're going to talk about finance. um, you could just start with you. That's all you really can do, and just pass it on and have the conversation.
Indeed.
All right, so as always, we want to thank you all for joining us and for listening. Like, comment, subscribe, share, but as always, most of all, continue the conversation. We will be coming up with more live shows for you, and just more great topics. So, bye, y'all.
Peace, love, and light, everybody.